Recording in progress.
I am home. Oh, I just lost you there for a second. How's it going, Curtis?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yes.
All right.
This is an audition for a Verizon Wireless spokesperson. I laugh.
This is a back.
Oh, that's a great backdrop. Yeah. Johnny Taylor, Jerry Lee Lewis, B.B. King, the old B.B. King when he was playing a Fender.
Yes. You know, I never know a Stratocaster. No,
I think it was probably like an Esquire or Broadcaster or something, like one of the early, pre-Telecaster incarnations.
Right.
Like when you listen to "Sweet Little Angel," the original version, that's most likely what he was playing.
Guitar
nerd. Hey man, you're all about the musicology too, you know?
Yes, I get it.
Yeah. So I want to welcome the legend, Mr. Curtis Salgado, to WBLZ in our digital virtual studios today. It's great to have you, Curtis. You're coming to Buffalo soon.
Yes, sir. And not playing the sports bar, Chad, something like that.
Yeah, it's not the Sportsman's. It's called the Kaz. It's because it's on a it's very closely in proximity to a creek called the Cazenovia Creek. It's a Indian. It's a Native American term. I'm not sure what it means, but that's where they get the abbreviation from. And this is a stellar venue. I hope you are going to be taking advantage of the recording option, because you can walk away with like a 7-camera, 32-channel mix, for the future.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's that. I mean, it is for me for the shows that I've done there. I've got some great videos done there. I'm not sure if that's all part of your options, but it's there.
I duly noted. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope some of the same people show up that did at the sports bar, because there was such a great, nice, giving fans that I had there. I like the sports bar. So this will be, I won't be disappointed. I love to be in Buffalo, but it's nice to go somewhere new. The people at the sports bar made a lot of friends there.
Yeah, the Sportsman's is a great venue. So for whatever reason you're doing the Kaz this time, both are great, outstanding venues. The Kaz is new. It's like a state of the art. It's got video screens on to the left and right of the stage. High res. It's got if you want the fog machine and the light show and all that stuff, you can put that on. If you're bringing an LD with you, but there's usually somebody to take care of that for you. But the date is 6/19, so June 19th. That's coming up. Next week. And although I have a gig that kind of intersects with your time slot, I'm gonna do my best to get down there and hang with you if I can and catch some of your mastering.
I would sure love that. That'd be great.
Yeah. And by the way, anybody that goes to the Kaz website to buy one of these tickets, they might look at the price and go, "Oh my gosh, it's $84 or $89 or whatever." That's not something to get yourself sticker shock over. It includes a 2-course meal, catered meal, so you're getting your band and dinner. It's a dinner and a show theme. So just I wanted people to know that.
Thank you. That is a high price.
But even if it was just that 80 something dollars, Curtis, you're worth it. And I'm going to tell you, my listeners, why, because I know we've talked a lot, on camera, audio, on the phone when I was at WBFO, but a lot of people might not know your just extensive career history. So I'm just going to rattle off a few things for people, so that they can nibble on it and realize that somebody really significant is coming to town. You're from like the Eugene, Portland, Oregon area, where you were in a band with Robert Cray. This is in the area, the era when Animal House was being recorded. Robert was in that movie as the bass player in the shout scene. But you became friends with John Belushi, influenced him, which ended up spawning like
The Blues
the
Brothers.
Blues Brothers movie. They named a character in the movie after you. Cab Calloway's character played you. I mean, of all things, what an amazing tribute that was. I mean, you work with the Steve Miller Band, singer for Santana. You've been on Saturday Night Live, Conan O'Brien. I mean, man, you've done like everything, and people should know that. And just you're such a tremendous artist, singer, harmonica player, songwriter. It's just people need to come see you.
And didn't you just say my ticket price is worth it at 80? Would you like to manage me by any chance? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, man. If you need the
Let's
help,
go. Let's talk.
if you need the help, let me know. I'm one of your
Okay.
biggest fans. You
You
got to know
already-
that. You got to know I'm one of your biggest fans.
Man, it's hard to take. I know how good I'm not, but a lot of that stuff is true. I've been very blessed, and this is all I know how to do. And there's that point in your life where you're like, it's all about the connection. And I'm not trying to be schmoozy and cheesy. It's just like it's the give and take. I'm addicted to music, and trying to make a connection with the audience, trying to work on my craft, sing better, write better,
Yeah.
and hang out with folks like you.
Yeah, right.
Rub elbows with the right people. And I don't mean I mean musicians. I am a sideman fan. I was going to say groupie, but I'm not a sideman groupie.
Yeah, that kind of leads me to this phrase that my friend Tinsley Ellis says. He says, "You're in it for the right reasons." I mean,
Yeah.
back when I was getting into wanting to learn how to play guitar and all that stuff, I was 13 years old, and here's MTV, and you've got all these hot babes on these rock stars' arms and in the music videos, and that might be, your reason or your gateway to kind of get in, for the girls, right? But then all of a sudden, when you experience that massive, creative force being at the center of it on stage in real time, all of a sudden, I mean, yeah, relationships are important, but the music, the musicology, the connection, like you're saying, that's paramount, and that's why we're addicted, and really just keep doing it.
Yes, that's right. I'm a recovering alcoholic addict, and I realized I was going to kill myself if I kept going. And I quit. And that's when I kind of grew up and really started focusing on. I was always focused on music, but that was taking away a lot of my energy and spirit and soul.
Yeah.
And that's when I don't know why I'm telling you this, but that's when my life changed completely. As I got completely focused in music and music business, and the business of music sucks. But
Yeah,
music
there
is
is
great.
there is a real, tension where art and commerce meet, and it's another thing that some people might, need to understand and appreciate what it is that even though we're free as artists, we have music as freedom, Jimmy Vaughn says, that type of thing. But at the same time, we miss holidays. We're away from home. A lot of times there's shit food that you eat or you don't eat, and you're sitting down for long periods of time, and that's not great for your health because you're driving. Your sleeping accommodations might not be great. I mean, if you're still in the van, you know what I mean? That's the reality. And there's lots of also personal sacrifices, family. Like I mentioned, missing holidays, maybe your kids' first steps, maybe not having kids, maybe it's like you said, having these medical situations. You had a liver transplant. You've also had some heart surgeries, I think, too, right?
Yes.
I mean, geez, you talk about suffering for your art. I mean, here it is, folks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll tell you, all of that stuff is the byproduct of drug and addiction for me. I was doing music and going, and I did needlework. I caught hepatitis C, which is the leading cause of liver cancer, which led into a transplant. I'll put something, is what you do as a young man or a young woman, and if you're playing that kind of game and drinking and this and that a lot, it's going to catch up to you. So I got clean and sober in 1988. And in 2006, I had to get a liver transplant as a result of partying. So we didn't get on this to talk about health, but I got to say this. For me personally, I'm the poster boy to the song I Get By With a Little Help From My Friends.
Beautiful.
And my whole thing has been fans and friends and family who have helped me survive.
Right.
You know? And I was just having lunch. You and I talked earlier today, and the guy was talking about he's kind of a newcomer in the music business, and he's talking about, I put this much time in the internet, this much time to promote, this much time to do Facebook, this much time, and then posters, and this and that, and it's a lot of work, and he doesn't know how long it's going to last. And I said, people could have a 5-star hotel, Learjet to gigs, have a big tour bus that's custom made, go out on the road, and then turn down. I know rock stars that have sidemen that have turned down tours that would make them $1 million at the end of the tour, a world tour, and they go, "Nah, I don't want to go out." Touring is hard, and it's at every single level. The higher the level you get, it still knocks you on your ass.
You really have to have a certain constitution and resilience, but also, you can't go out there and live like you said you were you're talking about. You can't go out there and do that and expect to survive, no matter what you're making. But yeah, let's talk about the music, man. So tell us about the new music that you got either coming out or just released.
Last year, I released a record called Fine By Me, and the usual template, is that the right word? Sorry, template. And the usual blueprint is to make a record, record, tour. And the shelf life of your product is 2 years.
Well, in the short
6 months.
I was going to say that I think that initial surge and hump the trajectory of it tends to, I think, peak and either stabilize or drop in about 6 months. That's
Could
just
be.
yeah.
For me, it's like, I came out with this record last May, so it's a year old, and I got another one in the can, but I need to work this one another summer, another tour, and then that. So that'll be my a year and a half. But I agree with today's technology and the internet and how fast people are just absorbing music and have a short attention span. Yeah, you're probably right, but it's record tour. So I'm still on tour pushing my last CD, my last recording. I have vinyl, now I have vinyl. And then I have in the can, have to go through a live recording in Seattle with a 14-piece band.
Wow.
Of my old stuff that I don't do on the stage, like the stuff I used to do way back. Like I haven't played on stage in 20 years.
Well, I look forward to that because I mean you've got all these gems and your depth in musicology and artistry is just I have a lot of respect for that. But getting back to what you were talking about decades ago playing with Robert Cray, you recently collaborated with him on an O.V. Wright tune that got a lot of play on Sirius and on my radio station. Gonna forget about you. I mean, it was really like a long time coming.
Can I talk about that?
Yeah, sure.
Well, Jim Pugh called me up and said, "Would you like to record with Robert?" And I was shocked because when I see Robert, he comes through Portland, and if I'm here, I'm going to go see him because I am his biggest fan. I mean, Robert, there's nobody like him.
Right.
And so I go see his show, and I want to say this to the fans out there, but Robert Cray was fully realized when I met him in the 1970s. He hasn't changed. He still sings just like that. He plays, he's not like any other guitar player. I am a huge fan. And so Jim Pugh called up on behalf of him and said he'd like to do a record, and he picked the song. It was one that we had done with a record that him and I recorded. My first record, not for him, but for me, it was the first record I ever recorded. And for him, it was the first, but he would continue on. What am I trying to say? Is that we picked this old O.V. Wright song.
Yeah.
And we redid it. And here's the story. We got to the studio. He said, "Curtis, on the last recording, you took the high and I took the low, singing wise. And this time I'll take the high and you take the low." I said, "Okay." And we came up to the microphone and we did it in one take.
Wow.
It was like nothing had changed. Nothing.
That's
We
amazing.
just went,
And then,
it was like,
and
and man, I had the biggest smile on my face. It was like, it was a high. I don't know about him. He's very reserved, but he was really sweet. It was so nice of him to do it. And it was just like, we just like sang the song.
Man, I know just what you're talking about. As far as his personality, he approved me as an opener for one of his shows in Buffalo some years back. And there's like a downstairs green room, a bunch of different rooms and corridors and like a general area where there's food and stuff like that. And so I was just kind of hanging down there after the show, and then all of a sudden I look and Robert peeks his head out of his dressing room, and we kind of lock eyes, and he comes out because he had checked us out during the sound check, and Richard Cousins did too. And it was really sweet, nice, and complimentary. And the reason why I bring this up was because I brought you up in the conversation. This is going back to, I think, 2019. And I just said, I want you to know that any time that I mention you to Curtis, he just really sings your praises, and he'd like to hear that. But I mean, I think now with so few of the aging bluesmen, like Buddy Guy's on his farewell tour, even though he's playing fantastic at 89. I just saw him the other night. There's this who was the heir apparent to the blues kind of question in some people's minds, and it wouldn't be a stretch to say that it's someone like Robert.
I will vote for that easily.
Yeah.
There's nobody like him. When I first saw Robert play guitar, you couldn't hang a hat on what he was his main source. You see someone, you could tell Stevie Ray. I met him in '79, and we played with him before he had Shannon on bass.
I just heard the Tin Pan Alley. I just heard the version of Tin Pan Alley you guys played together. That was cool.
Thank you. We are drunk out of our minds.
Well, of course, there's that.
Yeah.
But what I liked about it was the Johnny Hartzman version that you guys were kind of doing.
Yeah, I did a record. Anyway, so Robert, you couldn't hang your hat on what he listened to. When you saw Stevie Ray, I saw him do a great version of Huber's Song. And a great, he played like Albert King. He played all this rockabilly. My jaw dropped when we first saw each other. We did about a 2-week tour. Anyway, and we became Stevie Ray Vaughan fans. But Robert, on the other hand, you couldn't tell who his influences were. He just played. And you hear this and this and this, but you can't go, well, that's his main man. Albert Collins, Robert was just Robert. And he's a unique guitar player. And
Yeah,
you can't second guess him.
Yeah, I think the term that's
singer,
that
goes without saying.
Oh yeah, he's just tremendous. I mean,
Yeah.
and still singing at the top of his game. I think the term that you're referring to is kind of comes by way of Warren Haynes and some conversations with Joe Bonamassa and people like that. That Albert King is an immaculate conception guitar player. There's nobody that sounded like him beforehand, and then a lot of people. Almost everybody sounded like him in some form or another afterwards. Robert kind of has that originality factor to his playing, and it's you're right. You can't just listen to him and go, oh, he heard Live at the Regal, or
No, right.
that he listened to somebody, guys. I mean, so I mean, myself, you can listen to me, and there's definitely the derivative. It's a dead giveaway. I mean, I love the Strat player Stevie and stuff like that. But as long as you stay in it long enough and you're doing it for the right reasons, like we talked about, eventually your own personality and idiosyncrasies and nuances kind of comes through.
Always comes through. You have your own voice. You got to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say I didn't listen to Sonny Boy or Little Walter or James Cotton.
All right. Well, let's talk about that, because
Yeah.
we've had a number of private conversations, and one of our mutual favorites is Sonny Boy Williamson 2.
Yes.
And and I'm going to kind of bring this together with the Stevie Ray Vaughan thing, because for me, Sonny Boy 2 is one of my desert island blues artists, and certainly my desert island harmonica player. If I was stuck and I just had to pick one to listen to, if I was on a desert island, that would be my guy. I mean, just the beauty and the purity of his tone and playing, and his vibrato was so emotional and just moving. But he used kind of a different kind of imagery, some more, I would say, interesting things with his poetry. With
You're talking about the lyrics.
His lyrics, yeah, the unseeing eye and too close together, and scared of that child. You covered that. That's
I'm too young to die.
Yeah, I'm too young to die. I'm just kind of thinking of some of the lyrics, but
When she starts to talk and she busts a stone jug.
Yeah, I mean, think
She's
about
such a beautiful woman. She's got such a wonderful mug. When she starts to talk, she busts a stone jug.
Imagine, and that imagery gives you like instantaneous description of someone whose vocal power is such that they could blast a ceramic, or clay, container of water.
Young generations wouldn't even know where that comes from. It's like when I first heard that, I knew what a stone jug is, because it was still out there. Nobody nowadays, 21 years old, would know what a stone jug is. At least I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Sonny Boy is one of the greatest lyricists in the blues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like My Santa Claus. Is Santa Claus too?
Oh yeah.
I was trying to find out what my baby got from my Santa Claus. It's just like,
But let's stop for a second because there's this thing about a common criticism of guitar players who emulate who are influenced by Stevie Ray Vaughan, saying, okay, this guy is a Stevie Ray Vaughan clone, or he sounds too much like him. But let's look at some one of the aspects of just the name Sonny Boy Williamson too. I mean, here's a guy who, depending on where you fall with the debate, kind of adopted and branded himself from somebody else's popular name.
right.
Sonny Boy want first. The first John Lee. So it's
Who is
interesting.
also a hell of a songwriter and an incredible harmonica player.
Yeah.
Once
So my
really
point is,
absorb.
like, so before you go around throwing stones, I mean, this stuff has been happening for a long time,
Yeah, yeah,
and there is, like we were talking about with Robert and Albert King. I mean, there are those who are the original, have this originality, and they're the inspiration and influence on people. And then there are those who are just, like the rest of us, taking bits and pieces until we find ourselves.
true. That's true. Yeah, but that's what the addicting part of it is. You know, you walk by a guitar and tell me if I'm right, and your guitar is sitting in your living room and it's propped up, and you go by it and you go by it, it's over there. You're always reaching over to grab it and play it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of musicians are, once you get over that first hump in an instrument where it starts to feel right and you start to get a tone. I mean, if it's piano, saxophone, violin, guitar, music and playing on congas and drums, it's addicting. Once you start getting into it, you just can't put it down. That's what I like. It's
Yeah, I
the
mean,
most
you could,
positive thing that humans do as a species is music and making instruments.
yeah, it's
mind-boggling.
very primal, rhythmic, like your heartbeat itself is a rhythm. It's a steady rhythm. And when you've got talk about music, you got three elements. You've got rhythm first, then melody, which is some kind of rhythm, and then harmony, which puts them all together with multiple voices. So,
You're a lot more articulate than I should be interviewing you.
oh, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. I mean, you're 71 years old, Curtis. I mean, look at your career. It's just incredible. And the people of Buffalo and Southern Ontario, Pennsylvania, Ohio, let me tell you, you've got to come see. He is a living, fire-breathing, historical artist and entity that you will not regret coming to see. It's June 19th. It's coming up next week, Thursday, at the Kaz right here in Buffalo, and I highly encourage you come see him.
Tommy, that was a very nice thing for you to say. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So, in addition to you, you've got some just stellar sidemen coming along with you. Have you got
Yes,
Alan playing guitar,
yes,
Bruce on keyboards?
yes.
Yeah, talk about some of these guys. I mean, they're just
John Wolcott on bass and Patrick Seals from Chicago on drums. Solid band. Yeah.
oh yeah.
And they know the material. And they put up with
What is that like, Curtis? Tell us now. We've talked music, we've talked we've talked health and fitness. What is it like putting up with Curtis?
well, I just want to, if I'm going to come down on somebody about something musical, you don't do it in front of other band members. Now, that's something I've never said to anybody. That's just, you just pull them aside. And to me, it's just like, hey, could you do it this way? Or could you listen to this again? It's all about, they gotta listen to the music. It is that you gotta learn the nuances, what makes a song different from the other song, right? There's little licks, and these guys listen, pay attention. They realize the song, it's the little things, a little riff, a chord change, a certain when and when not to play, the whole thing. I'm really tuned into that. And I can tell if you've listened to the songs. But if you haven't, I don't get angry. I just like, well, we just rehearse, and have a good time rehearsing.
Yeah, I
It's
agree with you.
music. Music is supposed to be fun.
I agree, but at the same time, you need to be serious about and scholarly about what you're doing, especially I think when we're talking about this music that you and I love, this American music, um, and you and I have the same philosophy about talking to band members like that. And it's actually kind of like in general, you don't call people out in front of a group of people. You try to talk to them individually, and that goes a long way. It makes you it's mature, and you don't look like a jerk or an egomaniac band leader.
Right.
So yeah.
Look, here's another thing. We're getting serious here.
All right, let's.
I made a record. I go in the studio. The musicians that are in there are, let's say, the Phantom Blues band, who are not a blues band.
Okay.
They're like a LA wrecking crew, as much as, and LA is full of that. Not just the famous wrecking crew from all those records in the 60s. LA is professional. They do their work. They show up. So they show up. Here's my song. And I'm looking for this and this. And then they know when to hold them and when to fold them. When they know that you're putting a puzzle together, and they do it efficiently, and all of it's a real good vibe. Here's a side note. I believe that vibe, when you're in the studio, gets sucked into the digital atmosphere, into, you know what I mean? If you're having a good time and you're this, nobody's crying or throwing bad vibes or whatever. You want to keep everybody in a good mood.
Yeah. Relaxed.
When
No
you're
tension.
with like the Phantom Blues band, it's a gas to record with these guys who have recorded from Jimi Hendrix to Paul Simon to B.B. King to Otis Rush to Joe Cocker to on and on and on. So I'm sitting there, and the music comes together of an original song, and they help me put it together. And they don't belittle me. If I have an idea, they listen to it and they try to make it happen. And then they have ideas. So everybody's really producing, They're not writing the song, but they're producing. Okay, so here's the punchline. I take that to a group of people, right? This is a record that people have bought. I want those musicians to try and pick up as many nuances from the song as they can. And you can tell who's been listening, who's been woodshedding, and who hasn't.
Right.
And that creates, I will be disappointed if they show up and they say, yeah, man, I've been listening to it, and I'll be disappointed. But then that puts me, I don't go, God damn you. How come, you don't do that. You just relax and let it roll. And hopefully it'll come together in 4 days on the road.
Yeah, I mean, there is that, and one of the guys that I will say that I know I've worked with in your band is Bruce Bears,
Right.
who's known for his work with a lot of people, but the Duke Robillard and people like that who are also just colossal musicians and scholarly, know how to compartmentalize and use the nuances. I remember I was a guest at his Beehive Jam there on a Sunday night in Boston, Massachusetts, and I showed up, and Curtis, talk about prepared. I mean, he had 2 or 3 of my albums charted out. He was ready.
Yeah.
And you know what? We didn't even do a lot of those songs, but he was ready for anything.
Yeah,
He's just
that's
that good. And the flip side of that is there's going to be those people that are into your gig. There's people that are there for the perceived prestige of the gig, and then there's those people who are there because they want to be for the right reasons and they do the work. And it's just really you have to know what you can expect from people when you call them, and you just say, okay, well, this guy's maybe just going to get me through the gig or the tour, but this guy is the one that I want to record with and get serious with and offer him a spot in my band. It's just really you just decide who you're going to work with at that point, you know?
right. And here's the tough thing, the other side. I'm at a jam section, and one of my main songs, and really easy to do, is Freddie King's version of "Look Over Yonder's Wall." I've done it for years, and I can say to the bass player and sing him the bass line, and then turn around and say, "Just give me straight," like that, and just come in, and I'll give you 1, 4, 5, and I could go to a room of amateurs and get a pretty good performance. But once in a while, you run into somebody who has that attitude of instead of like, don't tell me what to fucking do. What are you doing? Don't tell me that. I almost got in a fight with somebody. He goes, I'll play it how I want it. I said, it's not how the song goes. I'm trying to, and then I'm like, why am I explaining this? Just follow me. Well, man, him and I almost got into blows,
Curtis,
And,
yeah, I agree.
and I just shut my mouth and played the song, and it was C minus, and he was all over the map, and that's cool. And then I just excused myself from the table.
That's right. And you just they never get a phone call again.
No, if the phone's ringing, it's not me.
Yeah, it's not me either, because I had and we've got to wrap this up pretty soon here. We're going to run out of time, but just quick, in my experience too, I once had a guy who needed a Snickers bar too. I mean, he was being a real prima donna. I just wanted him to play like a quarter note Texas shuffle. That's the way I recorded it. That's the way I wrote it. And he wanted to play a syncopated
Right.
and I'm like, I had to, just kind of step back and just realize this person was just whatever, stressed out or just misbehaving or
Well,
had
you
it.
tell him how to play. It's
He goes, he said,
whatever.
yeah, he's like, I don't want to play those old grooves. I want to play it the way I play it, And I'm like, okay, man, whatever. And, we got through the rehearsal and the gig, but
Right.
again, if the phone's not ringing, it's
It
probably
ain't.
me.
Yeah.
Anyway, Curtis, listen, man, you and we're kindred spirits, and I love you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you here in Buffalo at the Cas next week on the 19th. And you be safe out there. I know you're leaving on tour tomorrow, so I wish you the best of luck.
Thank
And
you.
I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
You're a class act on me, man. I've told you that. And I don't know. You handled yourself so well. I got a lot to learn. Thank you.
Thanks, my friend. Let's keep in touch for next week. But until then, have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Peace and chicken grease.
Chicken wings, man. Chicken wings.
Peace and chicken.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.